We're theme park families.
Theme park families.
We're theme park families.
Won't you join us now?
We're theme park families.
Thanks for joining us, we aim to please.
If roller coasters got you weak in the knees,
We're theme park families.
if you wanna find the best dessert or
Take a potty break with privacy,
find a coaster that is tame for little ones,
or one to make you scream.
we're theme park families.
Everybody's ready, babies.
Rescuing you all from life's luxuries.
We're theme park families.
We're theme park families.
Press the space bar. Get it?
You know the coaster season is here when new coasters have their opening ceremonies, and we've already had 4 so far this year. How many of the 4 can you name?
Copperhead Strike, Yukon Striker,
Yes.
Canada's Wonderland,
Yes, 2 out of the 4.
Kentucky King,
Yes, what opened there?
No Clue, Kentucky Flyers.
No clue, Kentucky Flyer. And then in Busch Garden, Tampa, I don't know if you know what opened down there?
Nope.
Tigress, does that sound familiar?
No.
That's their version of Phobia Fear. So 4 coasters opening so far, all 4 of them getting really positive reviews, and it's a sign that it's going to be a great coaster year, right, bud?
Yep.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Andrew.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Theme Park Families as we record in beautiful Lavalette, New Jersey at the In-Laws Shore House, which is terrific as we're down here to do what?
Go to Great Adventure.
Yeah, so we're going to hit up Great Adventure and get all the credits hopefully today as it's an overcast, sort of drizzly day. Hopefully get all the credits that Andrew needs there. We've gone there for years and now he's finally able to do all the coasters. So hopefully we'll get all those done. As the season goes on, we'd love to hear from all of you. If you have any special moments at the park throughout the year, like we heard last episode from Dave from Ohio about his special experience in Carowinds. If there are any new coasters or new parks to you, a milestone coaster, or a young one reaching a new height limit who tries a new coaster, send us an email or even better, an MP3 recorded on your smartphone and send it to us at themeparkfamilies@gmail.com. and we'll play it on the show. That would be pretty cool to hear from a lot of people. And if your young one isn't too shy, of any age, it'll be a cool way for them to get on the show and hear themselves on a podcast. Next episode, we're going to be chatting about a similar experience that we had on Intimidator recently with a member of the Costin family. That was a pretty cool development. Remember that one?
Yep.
So send us that information. We'd love to hear how you guys are experiencing the parks this year. Today's show, however, we're going to focus on the great day that we had last Wednesday at Canada's Wonderland for the premiere of Yukon Striker. Can't wait to chat about that, but before we do, we got to get to some news.
If not riding coasters will give you the blues, it's Andrew's news.
Disneyland announced that they will be handing out bathroom passes for those waiting in line for the Smuggler's Run ride, which debuts later this year. The new bathroom pass allows riders to leave the line, head to the restroom, and then re-enter through the Fast Pass line where they'll wait in a holding area for the rest of their party. The bathroom pass, a lanyard with a queue re-entry pass attached, will be given to the rider by a Disney employee.
Interesting idea. I think that's the kind of thing that we've talked about a lot over the years, is imagining waiting in a 2, 3, 4 hour line, and then what if you have to go to the bathroom? And I think that we heard that Millennium Force, when it first opened, had bathrooms in the queue perhaps. But do you think this is a good idea?
Yeah, it's a good idea, but the only thing that they'll have to watch out about is, one, if people cut the line after they're done with the bathroom and go up to the front and say, oh yeah, my friends are up here. and then just join a random group in the front.
Yeah, so that's the tough part, is that they have to ensure that people aren't abusing it, that there are people who were in line and somehow you contact an employee, you get this lanyard and you wait in this holding area where then your party gets up to you. So they would have some way of knowing.
Yeah, but then also, what if you're doing it by yourself and you don't have a party with you? How will the employees know where to put you?
That is a good point. Somehow I doubt many people do Disney by themselves, but even if that was the case, there has to be a way to signify the people who are around you, the groups that are around you, or what spot you're at in the line, and a way for them to get you back in.
Yeah.
So it seems like a great idea. Why parks haven't thought of something like this before is beyond me. Clearly, it's going to take a few more employees to be able to do this and sync that all up. So cost is certainly part of it. But when you hear about 6-hour lines for a Flight of Passage and how crazy that was, the lines for these rides are going to be just as long. So it seems like a great idea. I think that's a terrific sign for the future, as there are so many people who would not be able to avoid going to the bathroom for that long, and to penalize them seems incredibly wrong.
The two worlds of theme parks and NASCAR have once aligned again, like the theming of Dale Earnhardt and Cedar Fair, with the addition of Tyler Reddick's number 2 Chevy Camaro that Dolly Parton has sponsored. The pink and white car features the Southern Bells bust on the hood.
Oh, and by bust, it means just the upper torso, the head, and her smiling face. Yep.
The Dollywood theme park logo on the rear quarter panels with the DollyParton.com website across the roof. Dollywood's Dreammore Resort and Spa and Dolly Parton's Imagination Library received placement on the car's rear fascia. And the logos of Dolly Parton's Stampede Dinner attraction, Dollywood Splash Country, and the soon-to-open Pirates Voyage Dinner and Show each are included on the car's deck lid.
All right, so pretty wild. Did I show you the picture of that?
Nope.
When that happened? Okay, so I'm going to have to show you that. But it's pretty cool. It's a pink and white car, which isn't exactly all that masculine in a very masculine sport like NASCAR. But it kind of makes sense for NASCAR and country stuff to meld, as so many of the NASCAR tracks are in the Deep South, and that's where Dolly Parton's fans are. That's where a lot of Dolly Parton's business interests are. And so it's kind of cool to see a giant Dolly head on the hood of the car. The one thing I would hate to see is a crash and get her face all crumpled up, so that would be sad. But I think it's cool to see, and it's a smart move on her part, so I'm going to have to show you that picture. It is pretty neat.
According to Lance from Screamscape, Coney Lake Park is building a new tunnel for Blue Streak. The old tunnel has numerous holes, allowing the sunlight to enter what should be a pitch-black tunnel that leads from the station to the lift hill.
Coney Lake, a park we haven't been to yet, even though we pass by the exit all the time. At some point, we have to get there. Blue Streak is described there as one of the most interesting, scary wooden rides to ever get on, and there's supposed to be a dark ride there that's sort of like a coaster, sort of not, that is unique in its own right. And it's sort of come back from the brink of extinction as Pepsi competition rescued it with needed funds, and it sounds like they're slowly getting back to being operational. So they're replacing their tunnel, and it made me think of other coasters which have similar tunnels. From the station to the lift hill, you go through a dark tunnel. Not to put you on the spot, which I am again. Any coasters you can think of that do that?
Nope.
That go from the station?
Nope.
And then through a dark tunnel, and then you get to Lift Hill?
No.
How about the golden ticket #1 wooden coaster in the world? How about that one? Which is at Knoebels. The #1 wooden coaster at Knoebels.
Phoenix.
Right? You remember that tunnel? And they have some cool glow-in-the-dark stuff, right, for Phoenix Fall Fun Fest. So that's one that I thought of. And I think it's the Giant Dipper at Santa Cruz in California also has something like that. So good to hear any work is being done, and maybe this is the year that we actually get to Coney Lake to try that coaster in time. And I think 2019 is going to be the year of a couple of new experiences for us. So Coney Lake, one we have to get to. Let's see, other new things. Well, we've got a California trip planned for August, so we're going to try to get to the 4 Cedar Fair / Six Flags parks there. Going to Hershey Park for the first time in a couple years, so you guys haven't done any of the 54-inch coasters there. Maybe Idlewild in Pennsylvania, but certainly one thing we're going to try to do, and we're excited about the reopening of the oldest wooden coaster in the world with Leap the Dips. So as that's opening up as a sports / theme park combined facility. We've got to
I
get on
wanted a
that.
sports one too.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see exactly what they have. I think there's supposed to be like batting cages and mini golf, maybe that kind of stuff, to try to make it a more sustainable park. So we'll have a few new experiences. There's even talk about going to Rye Playland finally in our home state, a place that we've never been to, a place that we don't know a ton about. Brian from Silver Gore talked about meeting us there perhaps at some point. So that would be nice to be able to get there. We potentially have free RT if we get chosen. Who knows? I think we have some connections there. But if that happens at Kennywood, and not too much reported right now about Steel Curtain when that's going to open. So I've got a bunch of new stuff that we'll be doing this year and excited to do all that. Well, it's hard for us to do a lot of media day events because of school, and most media days are during the week. But I tell their teachers, both Andrew and Alex, it's educational. They dress up in a shirt and tie and help write the sentences and do the interviews, and I think it's an important educational tool for them. It's a confidence builder, and I think their teachers are pretty lenient when it comes to that we're not just going to have a good time, that this is work for us and it's for the podcast. So we feel so appreciative to be invited to these kind of places, as we know there are limited spots to all these events, and it really is an honor to be chosen. So that day we woke up around 5:30 a.m. for the 4.5-hour drive to get there, to be there around 11:15, just in time for the motivational and terrifically delivered speech by the former patient of the kids charity that the first riders helped fund. So that was kind of cool that we were able to get there. Sick kids, yeah. And what did you think of that speech?
It was good.
He was pretty confident. He had some humor to it, and it was really emotional. And it's so great that that money was raised to help out that facility. So driving up to the park skyline is such a distinctive part of any park's identity. And it's really cool to note how things change over time with new rides that are built. And Yukon Striker really does stick out. Did you notice that as we were driving up the highway?
Yeah, you can see like the lift hill and the drop. I think it'll definitely attract attention.
So yeah, I think it really looks great. That really distinctive lift hill reminding us of Valraven, where it's so different in that where that drop just heads straight down. And so in that way, it's kind of cool that it's right next to Behemoth and Windseeker, and it really does change the whole look there. So it's amazing how well the coaster naturally fits into that area, as it fits over the lagoon connected to Vortex, Windseeker, and the bowl slide in the water park. It uses up that lawn that the old Togo stand-up coaster used to be on, Skyrider, which closed in 2014, just before we really started coming there. So we always knew that plot of land as just that lawn there that was kind of sitting without anything on it, and the speculation was always that they were going to use that. That Togo clone was the clone of Shockwave in King's Dominion, kind of had that same exact kind of look. So the whole area really does look great. And you noticed the smell. What was it that you observed?
The new wood.
Smelled really great. The whole area is not quite finished yet, as they're getting pretty close. They're still working on some buildings underneath the coaster, and I'm sure that'll be finished really soon, as it'll just make that area look better and better. There's a second tunnel structure that you go through before the mid-course brake run that they're still working on, so that'll look really nice as well, as you'll go through sort of two tunnels. So some of the theming involved includes the water tank and sluice, that trough where water runs through the mining material to find gold. So it really makes it look like it's a real mining facility, which is kind of neat. And when that water is turned on, it will look really cool. The signage, just like Copperhead Strike, which we're going to talk about next episode, really looks terrific as well. You've got that big sign entering that new land that sort of stretches over you, and the station really looks impressive. That mining lodge. Remember the color-coded parts of the fronts of the train and how they looked? Did you notice the difference? They were like gold, silver, and bronze were the different parts of the coaster to separate what train was what train. So it all kind of tied into mining. Well, the ride itself. To you, which row did you like best?
The first row, definitely.
Yeah. And what about the front row did you like better?
Well, you get a better view of the drop, and it's just a lot better than the back rows, because you're in the back rows, you're behind a row, so you can't really see much.
It's true. So visually, it really is great hanging over the edge there, seeing the whole park in front of you as you look out and have the mountain and Leviathan and Dragonfire and all those things that you see. It really is a great view. And if you stretch your neck over to the right, you'll see a little bit of Toronto as well. So love that pause at the top, and it's great as you pause there because you hear so many things of people shrieking and waiting for that drop to come. On almost every ride, there's someone who's counting, who's trying to time it perfectly about when it's going to drop. And did you like the drop into the tunnel? Did you think that was
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
better?
Yeah, it's intense.
It really is, and the nice part about it is you really fly out of your seat. And a lot of talk has been about the restraints with the vest. Do you ever notice in any rides that have the vest, it tightening on you and getting uncomfortable?
Not on me.
Yeah, and so that's something that I never noticed as well. Some people have complaints about other vest rides, but I've never had an issue, and especially on this one, a lot of people are saying this one doesn't tighten on them when others do. So the restraint's really nice and comfortable. So that first drop into the tunnel is terrific, and you can imagine at night it's going to be just so cool. It'll be interesting to see how lit up that area is, but if you're diving into complete darkness, I think that's going to look pretty neat if there's no lights around there at all. Then you head into the world's largest Immelman loop, 187 feet above the floor of the tunnel and 148 feet above the exit of the tunnel and 165 feet above the water vortex it's on. So pretty cool to have the record breaker there. The zero-G roll, liked a lot, always fans of that. And then the first 360-degree vertical loop on a dive coaster. And a fun element and cool that that's yet another record that it has. You've got the second Immelman loop before reaching the mid-course brake run. And with those 4 different inversions in a row, and I don't know if you'd agree with me, but with having huge inversion after huge inversion after huge inversion, it reminded me of Banshee in that way.
Well,
Do you think?
Banshee doesn't have as big inversions.
Yeah, the loops aren't quite as large, so exactly in that way a little bit different. The train dives into another steep drop, but it's interesting on Yukon Striker that second drop after the mid-course brake run is much lower to the ground than the other dive coasters we've done. Did you find that kind of interesting?
Yeah, it's interesting.
I guess with the 4 inversions that they have in a row, they used up much more of that energy and speed so that the second half of the ride was going to be much shorter. And I'm okay with that because it makes that first 3/4 of the ride so exciting. One of Alex's favorite parts was that 360-degree helix that you do go into the final brake run, that he thought that was kind of interesting. And I thought it was fine, but that first 3/4 is really what the ride is about. So one cycle lasts about 205 seconds, but to me, it felt way longer than Valraven. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So after we rode the ride, and we really loved it, and I'd say we did it about 5 times that day on Media Day, and absolutely our favorite dive coaster. It is so much more well-developed, a lot more forceful, and really, really love the ride. And it's a great addition for Canada's Wonderland because it needed a high-capacity ride. Pretty much whenever we've gone, the lines have been pretty long, right, bud?
Yeah,
There haven't been many days where we've gone there and it's been quiet. So being that it's such a popular, busy park, they absolutely needed something that was high capacity, something that would attract a lot of people because Leviathan and Behemoth tend to get super long lines, and then a lot of other rides as well absolutely get lines. Dragonfire, we've been in decent lines for that. Absolutely, their Boomerang gets very long lines as well. And so in that way, it's great that you have a coaster that's 52 inches as opposed to 54 like Behemoth and Leviathan. So that's going to enable a lot more kids to get onto this. And hopefully in that way, lines for other coasters won't be quite as long. So it really makes sense for that park to add this coaster, and it creates a great top 3. Well, we had a chance to meet with a lot of people there. Everyone was so kind and gracious to us, all the employees who were checking us in. The dining staff was terrific. Everyone was so friendly. Those who gave us prizes, wouldn't you say they did a terrific job with Media Day?
Yeah, it was fun.
And we had a chance to talk to a number of people, including our new friend to the show, Grace Peacock, head of communications, to discuss the ride, the area, and we're able to sit down at Coasters Drive-In. So let's take a listen. Well, we are thrilled to be here at Canada's Wonderland for the opening of Yukon Striker. And we're joined by Grace Peacock, Director of Communications for the park. Thanks so much for having us and giving us some of your valuable time.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm glad you guys could come up.
Yay, we've been looking forward to this day for so long.
Can you take us through what this whole process has been like for you from this planning stages to building and now to opening?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm so happy that this day is here, and I keep saying to people, and I think they don't understand me, but when I'm hearing people screaming on that drop, it's like music to my ears because, I feel like I'm invested in this ride because we've seen it, come from nothing and get built up to this amazing machine. But the entire park, all the staff and the construction crews and the contractors that we've had in here building and working on this thing for over a year now, really.
Amazing.
It blows my mind just all the work that's gone into it, and I have a whole new appreciation for all of that effort because they really have brought something amazing to life.
So many different steps to the whole process, as we know.
Yeah.
We know Canada's Wonderland is one of the North America's biggest parks. What does the addition of Yukon Striker do for the park?
It's great to have a ride that claims world records, right? That's always fun. So this is the longest, tallest, and fastest dive coaster in the world.
Yes.
But I think aside from that, just the experience of this coaster, like I've never been on a dive coaster before I was on this one. And those wide trains with no floors.
Yes.
Your legs are just dangling over open air, right?
Yeah.
And like coming over that 90-degree drop is just crazy. But it's fun because this coaster interacts with the park in ways that none of our other coasters do. Our other big coasters like Leviathan and Behemoth are built on the sort of the exterior of the park, and the tracks go away from the guest areas.
Right.
But this one's built right on top of everything, and so there's all these different areas where the guests are right up beside the coaster. At one point you're walking under the coaster, so when that train's coming soaring through, it's an experience for thrill seekers, but also for the people who are just walking around in the park.
So some really great vantage points, absolutely, as you can walk in a lot of different places. And that view, as you said, that view that you do get from the top, the whole park is just kind of there for you. And it's interesting because when you looked at Leviathan, what did you think in terms of height?
I didn't see that much of a difference.
Yeah, it really is. You notice it's a little taller, but really not that big a difference. And it's also cool to have Windseeker kind of right next to you as well and see that it's not that big a difference as well.
My dad, who teaches English, has taught numerous Jack London stories, so he knows about the Yukon. For our audience, can you explain the Yukon and how it connects to the theming of the ride?
Yes. So Yukon Striker is really the showpiece of a new themed attraction area in the park, Frontier Canada. And Frontier Canada is themed to the Klondike Gold Rush of the late 1890s. And so that's what this whole area is going to be about. We have some new restaurant venues coming, but it's a bit of an origin story for the park, actually, because in 1981, when they were building the park and planning for it, Frontier Canada was supposed to be one of the original 5 sections for the park, but it got shelved and it never happened. And so we have these old books and these old concept drawings of what it was supposed to be like, and we're now trying to go back to some of our roots and bring back some of that original theming. So we decided, what a great time. We've got this massive B&M dive coaster coming, so we'll bring Frontier Canada back and make this the showpiece.
What a great idea. And so far, the theming that we've seen, all the wooden signs look terrific. Yeah. What are some of your favorite parts of the theming that you've seen so far, guys?
Well, I like just the smell of brand new wood. It smells so cool.
It is. It's kind of like Mystic Timbers when that opened and having that smell. Exactly. You noticed something that you think will be open when it gets a little warmer, right? What did you notice?
So over there's a water tank that has the water flowing down from the wood, and then it'll go into the ground. There's these vents in the ground, and it'll go in there.
That's right, yeah. So that's actually, it's out of our water tower, which is where our Yukon Striker sign is. And that little water pathway, it's actually called a sluice.
Yes, exactly.
Is that how I
yes,
say
perfect.
it?
Nailed it.
I haven't sure. Yeah.
Yes.
And so the prospectors, the gold miners, used to use that water system to filter out the gold from, their dirt and the other elements. And so we recreated that here, which will be really nice to see.
I also like the mascot, the cowboy.
Oh, well, cowboy.
Well, it looks like
I think what he means, and he's a little new to Canada's ways, the Mountie.
Oh, yes.
Cowboy Mountie, similar.
Yes,
so is he a mascot for the whole park?
So his name is Major Mackenzie, Major Mac for short.
Okay.
And yeah, he's one of our Canadian Royal Mounted Police, or he's a Mountie, yeah, same thing. And we've had him for a few years now, but now his new home is going to be Frontier Canada. Oh. So we also have the Peanuts characters in the park who obviously are all around, but Major Mac's home is going to be Frontier Canada now.
Oh, that is great. And he played an important role in the ceremonies raised this morning, and that was a pretty emotional speech. If you can talk a little bit about the charitable donation and the first speech that was given.
Yes, so today was a special day because the 72 riders, the first riders, they were part of a fundraiser that benefited a local children's hospital, Sick Kids Foundation. And so all the money raised went to them. But we had some special guests here, patient ambassadors from Sick Kids, who had been in the hospital as children and sometimes still have to go back for treatments because they have something that they're going through that's ongoing. And our patient ambassador, Jack, was here, and he was a special guest and told everybody about his story and, a lot of hospital time and a lot of chemotherapy he had to go through. But it was a great reminder of why we were all here today and, the hard work that all these people did, the fundraisers, that money and where it's going to be going to. So it was a nice touch.
Which is terrific. And we've done some work with Give Kids the World lately, helping to generate money for them. And hearing these kind of stories, I think, is so valuable. So we love to hear about that kind of stuff.
Were Tony and your sister park to the south, Cedar Point, okay with you beating their world record as the tallest, longest dive coaster?
Yeah, I think Tony's over it at this point. But yeah, because he's, as you know, you've seen him. He's actually out here. The parks work really close together, and we're all really good friends, and we support one another. So, it's understandable. It's got to happen once in a while that another park gets a coaster that beats the other park's records. But they're all good sports about it, and they're all very supportive.
Keeping it in the family is a great thing. So it's nice to see people from other parks helping out. Canada's Wonderland is renowned for its extensive flat ride collection. Do you have a favorite of all the flat rides that are here?
Oh boy,
it's a tough question.
You know what? I think last year, our new ride last year, Lumberjack, which is now part of Frontier Canada as well. That was exciting, and that's like essentially 2 axe pendulums that swing 360, and that was a lot of fun. So I think that's got to be my favorite now. I got my 2 favorite rides now are in Frontier Canada, Yukon Striker and Lumberjack.
So you'll be spending a lot of time in this area, understandably. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
What was your first ride like on Yukon Striker?
I screamed a lot.
That's great.
I screamed a lot, and I was blown away with that drop because I sat front row and seeing, being hanging there. You talk about it and how intimidating it's going to be, but you really cannot be prepared for sitting there and hanging essentially over this drop with nothing between you and that drop but open air and your restraints, right? So it was pretty awesome.
I know that people on our train were screaming behind us.
Oh yeah, I think Grace has heard a lot of that this morning, as she mentioned.
Yeah.
We've done a few dive coasters. I can say that is the most intense first drop on a dive coaster we've ever done. It really is a big difference. The forces of that, would you agree, Alex, that the forces on that first drop are pretty intense?
Yeah. And also, so like when you first come out of the station and it looks like you're kind of like floating and you're in the front seat, it looks like you're floating.
It's a cool
like,
feel
on the track.
On some of those.
It's so cool.
Exactly. It's different having those floorless trains, absolutely. For a certain percentage of American coaster enthusiasts, Canada's Wonderland has not been conquered yet. We sing your praises all the time on our podcast, but can you give us a short little sales pitch as to what makes Canada's Wonderland so special?
Sure. Well, besides our 17 coasters that we have now with Yukon Striker, we've got something to offer for everyone. We've got 2 kids areas. We've got a 20-acre Splashworks water park. We've got a whole entertainment lineup throughout the summer with Ultimate Thrill Circus and like taste food festivals, Halloween Haunt in the fall, but also new this year we're bringing in Winterfest. So for the first time we're going to be extending our season into the winter for this immersive holiday event.
Oh, we're so excited about that. That'll be great. And you mentioned the kids areas, and I know that there's a certain park to the south in Ohio, a different Ohio park, that wins the Golden Ticket Award every year for Best Kids Area. But we talk about that we think this ranks right up there, if not higher. We love the kids area here, to say the least. So Grace, thank you so much for having us and giving us some of your time. We'll be back numerous times throughout the year so these guys can finally get their 54-inch credits here with Behemoth and Leviathan, and you have a definite winner on your hands with Yukon Striker. What a brilliant ride.
Thank you so much. I'm glad that you guys could come out.
So she was so great. She was so friendly and gave us a lot of good information and some helpful stuff. I had no idea it was part of a whole new land. So that's really kind of cool how a gigantic park can retheme a whole new area and make it look great.
Yep.
It's going to be interesting to ride Vortex. I know they have a new sign there, and ride a lot of those new rides that we haven't had a chance to do yet. So we can't wait to get to the park. And I think only in a few weeks we'll be getting there, meeting our good friends Clint and Sherry to spend a couple days there with them, as that will be their first time to the park. Pretty cool, and excited to get their impressions of the park, because it's one that we love. They are obviously huge King's Dominion lovers. The chance for them, it's almost like seeing an old friend. Oh, I just saw pictures, dude. What experience for Clint and Cherry who love King's Dominion? What are they going to be excited?
Volcano.
In this case, it's not a volcano they'll be seeing, but it is a mountain. I haven't showed you the most recent pictures, dude. Since we were there a couple weeks ago, it's almost completely gone.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll show you after. There's a little bit of a center structure that is still there and a tiny bit of track, and that's it. Within a week, it's going to be completely gone. At least this way, they'll get to see, oh, this is what a mountain that's still operational looks like. I'm sure we'll be recording from there to get their first impressions of the park, but I think they're going to love it. We also had a chance to talk to someone who is part of the industry and connected to that ride. So let's just take a listen to our second interview that we were able to record that day. We love to be connected to the giants of the industry, and in that vein, we are so pleased to have Sophie Bolliger, Vice President and Head of Sales from Bolliger and Mabillard, to join us at Theme Park Families. Thank you so much for some of your time.
You're welcome.
After Shikra and Griffin, which by now is well over a decade ago, all of a sudden in recent years, the dive coaster seems to have undergone a renaissance in North America. Why do you think that is?
Well, the dive coaster is a very unique coaster. It has a face-down, vertical free-fall. It's a very unique element. It has very wide vehicles. All rotation motions are enhanced. So it's a very unique experience.
It really is. And interesting with the drop of the 3 dive coasters we've done by B&M so far, this we've found is by far the most forceful. Have you noticed that as well?
Well, it's a 245 meter long drop. It's long.
Exactly. And that really gives you that sense of speed, right, guys?
Yeah. What is it like for you to come back to a park like Canada's Wonderland, which now has 3 terrific B&Ms?
We're very proud. It's great, and Yukon Striker is a wonderful addition for Canada's Wonderland. It's a great coaster. Will bring a great experience to riders and to spectators alike.
Were there any special challenge about building Yukon Striker, and what were your thoughts about the ride?
Yes, with Yukon Striker, we had to take into consideration the existing elements, so the existing rides, Timberfalls and Vortex, and also the lake. But we actually used these challenges to enhance the experience, because as you drop the 245 free fall, you will drop through the spiral vortex and into the tunnel.
It really is unique. It gives it a really interesting perspective, as well as the views up top are pretty incredible as well.
What advice do you have to young, aspiring engineers who are thinking of getting into the industry?
Well, to get in the industry, being an engineer is a good start. But engineering also will give you open a lot of doors in general.
Yep. Do well with your math, guys. That's the key with that.
How much fun did you have on this project?
We have a lot of fun on every project. Every project is unique. And when we then get to come to the park, to come and try coasters like Yukon Striker, see it come to life and experience what we've done, and watch people ride it. People smile when they're on it. It's fantastic.
That's what it's all about, right, guys? The smiles. And so with that, the idea of all of these rides are special to B&M, and they're all in some ways like children, as parents can never say, oh, that's my favorite child, or anything like that. It feels wrong to do. But with the coasters over the decades, are there any in particular that are just, for some reason, a little bit more special to you?
As you say, it's just like picking your favorite child. It's very difficult, but the Yukon Striker is a wonderful coaster. I really enjoy. I enjoy the very long, straight, vertical drop. I enjoy the variety of elements. I enjoy the fact that it's very good from the beginning all the way to the end with a very dynamic spiral.
Absolutely, yes. One thing we saw that was very different, we noticed the heaters for the wheels. It is the first coaster that we've ever seen that has the heaters for the wheels. Was that something special that needed to be added for Yukon Striker?
It's a feature that exists elsewhere.
Okay, so maybe some European coasters perhaps have that as well. Well, Sophie, thank you so much for your time. Enjoy the rest of your stay here in Canada, and we look forward to a lot of your coasters that'll be coming out in the future.
Well, thank you very much for taking the time to drive all the way up here, and I hope you will enjoy Canada's Wonderland and the Yukon Striker.
Oh, we so do. It's absolutely one of our favorite parks, and this is now our favorite dive coaster. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So that was neat to hear from someone from a company that is so adored and so beloved, and it was very cool to talk to her.
Yep.
Well, as we talked about on Coaster Radio, as they played our little trip report that we sent to them, in some ways for some people, even though they absolutely adore the ride, the buzz on that day was also about what exciting new technology?
Oh, the loose article bin?
Really cool. It's almost like a coaster on top of a coaster.
Pretty much is, except it's just a lift hill. There's no real drop.
Yeah, well, when it goes down, right, it's not gravity driven. So in that way, sadly, it's not an actual coaster, even though I would love to put Maddie on it.
I would like to ride that.
Okay, you too? All right, I would strap a GoPro to you.
I could fit in it.
There is a weight limit. I know I think there were signs on it that there's a weight limit, but you're probably under
pounds.
it. Yeah, you're under that weight limit for the whole bin. So I think we can get this done. I'll sign a waiver saying it's okay, whatever happens to him, happens to him.
Well, there's a net, so if I fall, then...
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're Spider-Man anyway. If there wasn't a net, you'd still be okay. But anyway, really cool as it's like a cabinet. I don't know what the finished product was. That was like the first day it was there, and they weren't even testing it. But you come up the stairs into the station. Right at the top of the stairs, the bin would be there on a track, hanging down, almost like an inverted coaster. You put your loose articles into there. Then the bin, as your train leaves, goes over the train on this track with netting underneath you in case anything fell out. Then it syncs up with your train when it comes back to the station, goes down the hill, and then you get your articles afterwards. So a neat system. Some people question online what happens if the bin system breaks down, which is a great question. Potentially that could happen. Would that shut the ride down? But you would think they'll have an alternate possibility of what they would do then with the loose article system. So it's going to be really interesting to see. Is this the wave of the future? How much is that added expense? Will other parks in the chain do it? I don't know. So many different parks have different systems. Clearly some systems are not working at all. It's going to be interesting to see what comes of that. But it'll be neat to see. Just to see it working, I think will be cool. So when we're there in about 2.5 weeks, something like that, hopefully we'll get to see it in action.
Maybe. Never know.
Andrew picked our ride of the day for this episode. What'd you come up with?
I came up with the scramblers. They're so fun.
And scramblers are wild, and pretty much in any park, if a line for a scrambler is short, we'll do it. Now, the interesting thing about a scrambler is I'm completely fine with them. There are a lot of spinning rides that definitely bother me and always had. Spinning teacup rides are absolutely brutal.
Well, I think it's because how you spin, it's a lot different. Because you're moving a lot faster and you're in the air, so it's a lot different than spinning teacups.
And you're not completely just spinning in a circle, you're moving forward a lot as you're rotating, and I think that helps. But I'm just so happy in that way that these scramblers never bother me. And one tip that we have, and it's not our tip of the day, but one tip that we have with a scrambler is if you're with a group, arrange yourselves so that you'll be passing each other. So with the 3 different arms that they have, and then on each arm, is it 4? I'm going to guess 4 cars. I've never really thought of it that way, but I think there are something like 4 cars on each of the 3 arms. So if you try to position yourselves so that you're on alternate cars on arms that are side by side, you can pass each other, and it's fun to make silly faces at each other and pretend like you're Shazamming each other and going, right? That kind of stuff. You do? Do you do that?
No.
That's the exact noise that you've done. That's why I did that.
I did not
And so,
do that.
I think you did. So scramblers in that way are a ton of fun. Now, one of the issues with scramblers and why we'll never do it if there's a long line is that generally it's such a slow loader. If there's only one employee, and at most places there's generally only one employee, it can take forever to check everyone's bar and everyone's pin and all that. In that way, if there's a long line, yeah, we'll never do a scrambler. But otherwise, it's fun. And sometimes it's cool that some scramblers are set in unique places, like at Great Escape, which we haven't been to now for years. But do you remember their scrambler?
No.
At the Great Escape? Let's see if I can jog your memory. So it's inside in a little dome, in that little white dome, and it's got air conditioning. It's called something like Freeze Out or Blizzard or something like that. And they have music and lights in there.
Yeah.
And for that one, they did have 2 attendees, so it went a lot quicker. I love those kind as well that add a little bit of theming to it. Almost like Cloud Poofer 3000, 2000,
Yeah.
7000.
But that's a lot different.
Yes, it is. It is a lot different and way more intense and crazy at Worlds of Fun. So scramblers, get on them, sit in the right seats, have fun. They're great rides.
Tip of the day, tip of the day. It's the tip of the day. Tip of the day, tip of the day. It's the tip of the day. Yeah.
For a tip of the day, and not something that's always easy for everyone, but it's all about trying to get to a new park. The excitement of getting to a new park if you can. Challenge yourself to experience getting to a park for the first time. The guys on In the Loop discuss this issue that they're having, that by now they have traveled so much across the country that there are very few parks to them that they haven't been to. So in that way, sometimes it can be really challenging if you're someone who has a crazy coaster count, but if not, if you're still pretty new or haven't traveled a ton and you have the means to, there's nothing like getting to a park for the first time, experiencing new rides, and just seeing what the park's about, theming, all that kind of stuff. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
What are some of the things you like about going to new parks?
Oh, just trying to find your way around and like seeing all the coasters that you've heard about and haven't tried yet, and just navigating your way, because like parks that we've been to now, we already know it like the back of our hand. Just going to a new park and finding new things, it's pretty fun.
Now, with going to a new park, would you rather know everything, like memorize the layout, watch POVs, or would you rather just go and experience everything completely new and having no idea?
I think I like the second option better.
Yeah, we've gotten more and more into that. When we first started all those years ago now, we were very careful to watch POVs to reinforce that we'll be okay, we can handle this. But now it's the exact opposite. Like, I never watched a Copperhead Strike video before I rode that for the first time. Did you?
Nope.
Okay, and so that was so cool not to know these things. And so it's interesting how it's like completely flip-flop, where I don't want to know. Steel Vengeance, completely avoided watching POVs before we did that. So getting to a new park is just so exciting, so cool. So if you can, try to get to a new park this year and let us know about it at themeparkfamilies@gmail.com. And it would be really cool to hear that. Well, we can't say enough about Yukon Striker. Absolutely loved it. Great park. Get to Canada's Wonderland. Get your passports. It is such a underrated park, which is weird to say considering that they are busier than Cedar Point, that they have more patrons who go to Canada's Wonderland than Cedar Point every year. But I think it's still so unknown to Americans for the most part. Certainly the hardcore enthusiasts go there quite often. But it is such a cool park and so worth the drive if you're anywhere in the Northeast. Money back guarantee, we know you're going to love it, right, bud?
Yes.
Even the kids area for those who are younger, and even if you're not, and I know a lot of our friends support this too, their kids area is huge, and we know there's a certain park in Ohio that wins that golden ticket award every year, right?
Yep.
And it's a great area as well, but Canada's Wonderland just has so much charm. It is so winding and surrounded by trees. It gives it a sense of intimacy, and it's just such a nice setting. So their kids area, if more GTA voters knew about their kids area, I think that would get a little bit more love.
Grand Theft Auto?
Yeah, Grand Theft Auto, Golden Ticket Awards. GTA, Grand Theft Auto. That's my gaming little guy there. So we're really excited about next episode where we're going to be chatting about a few really cool experiences we had, including getting to Carowinds with the coaster crew and really making a lot of new friends and seeing a lot of old friends, something that we're so happy about and glad that we were able to do now that we're coaster crew members. So we'll be chatting about that, getting back to King's Dominion and chatting about Great Adventure as well. But we are so psyched that we have an exclusive. We're not a podcast that really has a ton of these, but we're going to have some really cool things about Galaxy's Edge. This is something I'm really excited about, that we've got an exclusive about Galaxy's Edge. Now, you look confused. Galaxy's Edge, you're not sure what that is?
I know what it is. Like, what's our exclusive?
Oh, wow. Do you want me to give that away, dude? I mean...
Well, you can tell it to me. Okay.
So that is something we're super excited about, something we've been working on and putting together for a while. And there's been, you got it now?
Yeah.
So there's been a huge buzz because just in the last couple of days, they've made reservations available at Disneyland for Galaxy's Edge. There's already been talk about scalping and people selling their reservations, but you have to show ID. I don't know, the whole world is abuzz with that. But we have an exclusive about Galaxy's Edge, which I think is going to blow some people's minds. And really, we haven't talked about Disney all that much. We had that early episode with Tom from Louisville where he told us about his experiences, but we haven't been to Disney yet.
I think this summer is the summer.
Yeah,
it's going to be the summer. And then we'll have a whole podcast about a trip with the whole family.
You selling a kidney?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. All right, sweet. Then that's worth it. So Andrew will be selling a kidney and we're going to Disney. Woohoo! So thanks so much for checking in with us. We're going to be talking about a new review that we had on iTunes next episode, which we're so appreciative of getting those. You can check us out on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Theme Park Fam, and let us know about your trips and how that's going. Thanks so much for listening, and thanks to everyone at Canada's Wonderland. We had the best time there, and we can't wait to get back. Yukon Striker is a coaster we're a boot.
Since we are honorary Canadians, know what I mean? Andrew out.